The chains of Earth. The galaxy remembered Earth not as a proud world, but as a broken one. Once, humans had stood tall among the stars. They had built colonies, ships, and alliances. They had dreamed of freedom beyond their blue sky. But those dreams had turned to chains. When the alien empires came, Earth was too weak, too divided. The great species, the Tervax, the Alari, the Varen, did not fight for humans. Instead, they allowed the enslavement. They stood by as chains, were fastened around human wrists and collars locked around their necks. Humanity was made to serve. In alien mines, humans dug until their hands bled. On alien worlds, humans built cities they would never live in. On alien warships, humans were forced to fight wars that were not their own. The galaxy looked down on them as tools, not people, but the chains did not break the human spirit. Not completely. In the shadows, whispers spread. In the dark corners of slave camps and mining stations, men and women still dreamed. They spoke of Earth's freedom, of one day rising against the masters. Among them was a man named Elias Kane. Elias had been born in the mines of Varin IV, one of the harshest colonies where humans were worked to death. His father had died under a collapsing shaft. His mother had been taken away when he was just a boy. Elias had grown up with chains around his arms and fire inside his heart. Even as a slave, Elias watched, learned, and remembered. He studied the alien guards, the way they moved, the way their weapons worked. He listened to the whispers of rebellion. And when he grew older, he began to speak as well. Someday, Elias said quietly to the humans around him, someday, we will rise. Someday the galaxy will see what it means to chain humanity. Many laughed at him. Others told him to stay quiet. But a few listened. A few believed. Years passed, and Elias's voice grew stronger. From slave camp to mining station, his words spread. He became a symbol, a man who dared to say what others only thought. And then one night, everything changed. Elias was being marched back to the barracks after a long day in the mines. His wrists were sore, his body weak. But then, hidden in the dust near the path, he saw something. A small piece of metal, shining faintly under the moonlight. He bent down, pretending to stumble, and picked it up. It was not just any metal. It was a fragment of human design. A chip. A message carrier. That night, when the guards were gone, Elias hid in the dark and pressed the chip into the wall's power outlet. Static filled the air. Then a voice whispered through, "To any who still resist, the time has come." Elias froze. His heart pounded. He pressed closer. The chains of Earth will not last forever. We are building. We are waiting. Soon we strike. The message ended. The chip burned out in his hand, turning to ash, but Elias's eyes were wide. His breath shook. The words had been real. Somewhere, humans were fighting. Somewhere, they were preparing for war. He looked around at the sleeping slaves, men and women who no longer dreamed, who believed only in pain and silence. Elias clenched his fist. "They think we are broken," he whispered, "but we are not. We are waiting, and I will find them." From that night forward, Elias was not just a slave. He was a man with purpose. He spoke louder, spreading hope where there was none. Guards beat him, starved him, tried to break him, but his fire only grew stronger. The alien masters noticed. They began to whisper among themselves. Who was this human who did not bend? Who was this slave who dared to speak of rebellion? The answer was simple. Elias Kane was the spark, and sparks, when left alone, become flames. 1 year later, the slave mines of Varan IV fell silent. When the guards arrived, they found tunnels empty, chains broken, and walls marked with words written in blood and ash. We are not slaves. We are humanity. Elias was gone. He was no longer a prisoner of Virenfor. He was something far greater. Somewhere in the dark, Elias Kane was moving. Somewhere, he was searching for those who had sent the message. Somewhere, he was preparing to bring the wrath of Earth back to the galaxy. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Asterisk. The hidden fleet to Elias Kane's escape from Viron 4 was only the beginning. The galaxy thought he had vanished into the dust, another slave lost to the endless mines. But Elias was not lost. He was on a path that would change everything. He traveled through smuggler routes, hidden cargo ships, and abandoned tunnels, carved into asteroids. Everywhere he went, he searched for the voice that had spoken through the chip. Weeks turned to months, and finally he found it dot in the dark side of an asteroid belt near a dead star. Elias saw them. A secret base. It was hidden so well, no alien scanners could ever detect it. Inside that hollowed rock was something no slave should have ever seen. A fleet. Dozens of ships floated inside the cavernous hollow. They were not alien ships. They were human-made. Some looked patched together from scrap and stolen parts. Others were sleek, forged from designs that should have been lost after Earth's fall. Elias stood frozen, his eyes wide. It was real. The whispers, the message, the promise of rebellion, it was all real. Men and women worked on the ships, welding armor, fitting weapons, testing engines. They wore no chains here. They stood straight, walked proud, and spoke freely. For the first time in his life, Elias saw humans not as slaves, but as builders of their own destiny. A woman approached him. Her hair was short, her eyes sharp, and her uniform carried no alien mark. She looked at Elias as if she had been expecting him. "You found us," she said. Elias nodded. His voice shook. "The message, it was you?" The woman smiled faintly. "Yes, my name is Captain Arya Holt. We are the remnants. Survivors, fighters, builders, and soon liberators." Elias felt something inside him ignite. He was no longer alone. Humanity was rising. The days that followed were like a dream. Elias walked among engineers, pilots, and soldiers. Some had escaped slavery like him. Others had been hiding since the fall of Earth, keeping old knowledge alive. They had built these ships in silence, far from the galaxy's gaze. Elias learned quickly. He trained to fly the small fighters, studied the massive cruisers, and listened to Arya as she explained their plan. "We can't face the galaxy head-on," she told him one night as the stars burned outside the asteroid base. "Their fleets are too big, their armies too strong. But humans, we have something they don't." Elias tilted his head. "What's that?" "Patience," she said, "and wrath." The fleet was still small. 30 ships in total, 10 fighters, 15 frigates, 5 cruisers. Not enough to stand against a single alien empire. But these ships were different. Each one carried weapons stolen from alien labs. Each one had been rebuilt with human cunning. Faster, sharper, deadlier. One frigate carried a weapon strong enough to crack an asteroid in two. A cruiser held a stealth system that could make it vanish from scanners. The fighters were light, but fast as lightning, designed to strike and disappear before the enemy could react. Elias felt pride swell inside him. Humanity had not been idle in the shadows. They had been preparing. One night, alarms echoed through the base. Elias rushed to the command deck, where Arya stood watching a holomap. A small red dot blinked at the edge of the system. "A patrol ship," she said. "Veyron scouts. If they discover us, everything ends." The room went silent. If that scout ship reported back, the hidden fleet would be destroyed before it even began. Arya turned to Elias. "This is your chance." Do you still believe what you said in the mines? That humanity will rise? Elias's jaw tightened. Yes. Then prove it, she said. Take a fighter. Don't let that ship leave alive. Moments later, Elias sat in the cockpit of a human-built fighter. His hands shook as the ship powered on. The controls lit up, unfamiliar yet strangely natural. He gripped the flight stick, and the fighter launched into the dark void. The scout ship was ahead, a small vessel, fast but lightly. Armed. It had not yet seen him. Elias's heart raced. He thought of his father in the mines, his mother taken away. The chains, the pain, the endless years of slavery. He thought of the voice on the chip, promising the time had come. He pressed the trigger. The fighter roared. Energy bolts streaked across space, tearing into the scout ship's hull. It tried to flee, but Elias stayed on it, every shot guided by rage and memory. The alien vessel exploded in a burst of fire, lighting up the stars. Elias sat in silence, breathing hard. His first kill. His first victory. He whispered to himself, "We are not slaves. We are humanity." Back at the base, cheers erupted as Elias landed. Arya met him at the dock, her eyes fierce with approval. "You're ready," she said. "And soon the galaxy will know." But deep inside, Elias felt something else, a shadow of fear. The scout ship was destroyed, yes, but how long before others came looking? How long before the galaxy realized that humanity was no longer broken? The hidden fleet was powerful, but fragile. If discovered too soon, it would be crushed. Elias stared at the stars beyond the hangar. They seemed endless, cold, and watching. Somewhere out there, the masters of the galaxy still believed humanity was chained taut, but soon they would learn. They had given humans nothing but pain, and pain had made humanity stronger. The wrath of Earth was coming. Asterisk. Betrayal in the stars for a time, the hidden fleet grew stronger. Humans worked day and night in the asteroid base. They built new weapons, repaired engines, and trained pilots. Every day Elias watched them with pride. These were no longer broken. Slaves. These were soldiers, builders, dreamers. But dreams were fragile, and betrayal always waited in the shadows. One evening, Elias walked into the hangar and saw something strange. A man was slipping into a supply room, moving too quietly. His name was Ryan, a Finn worker who had once lived on a colony farm under alien rule. He had always kept to himself, avoiding attention. Elias frowned. Something about the man felt wrong. Later, that night, alarms rang through the base. Arya rushed into the command center. The holomap showed a signal and outgoing transmission. Someone had sent coordinates into the void. Arya's face went pale. "We've been betrayed." The crew fell, silent. Everyone knew what it meant. If the aliens had their location, the fleet was doomed docked within hours. The answer came. Long-range sensors lit up with incoming signatures. Not one ship, not 10. An armada, over 50 Viren warships were closing in. Massive cruisers, destroyers, and carriers filled the screen like a swarm of knives. Fear spread through the humans. They had only 30 ships. The fleet was not ready for a battle like this, but Elias stepped forward. His eyes burned. "We can't run," he said. "If we scatter, they'll hunt us down one by one. If we surrender, they'll chain us again. The only choice is to fight." His voice carried across the command deck. Men and women raised their heads. Fear was still in their eyes, but something else sparked within them. Defiance. Arya nodded slowly. "Then we make our stand. Today, the galaxy learns that humanity is not broken." The hidden fleet launched. Ships poured out of the asteroid base, engines burning, weapons armed. Elias climbed into his fighter once again, the cockpit glowing around him. Ahead, the Viron Armada spread across the stars, its formation wide and confident. They did not see humans as a threat. To them, this was not a battle. It was a cleanup. The first volley came from the aliens. Beams of energy tore through the void, aimed at the smaller human ships. 2 frigates exploded instantly, fire and debris scattering across the black. Elias gritted his teeth. Hold the line. The human ships responded. Fighters darted forward, releasing swarms of missiles. Cruisers opened fire, their stolen weapons glowing bright. The battle became chaos, flashes of light, trails of fire, ships colliding in silence. Elias weaved between enemy fire, striking at weak points. He remembered every scar of slavery, every lash of pain, and poured it into his aim. His shots ripped through a Viren frigate, breaking it apart in a blaze of flame. But for every alien ship destroyed, more pressed forward. The humans were brave, but the numbers were crushing. Dot in the command ship. Arya stared at the battle map. Red markers filled the screen. Her jaw clenched. We can't match them head on. We need another way. Elias's voice crackled through the comms. We set traps in the mines. Why not here? Arya's eyes widened. Then she smiled. Yes, the asteroids. She gave the order. Human ships lured the enemy closer, weaving through the asteroid belt. The Viron followed, firing blindly. But they did not see the charges the humans had planted days ago, explosives hidden deep in the rocks. Dot at Arya's command. The charges ignited. Dot. The void lit up as asteroids shattered into storms of fire and stone. Huge fragments slammed into the alien warships, tearing through their shields. Entire cruisers were ripped apart, crushed by burning debris. The Viren formation broke in panic. Ships scattered, trying to escape the trap. Elias pressed the attack. Now! Strike them down. The human fleet surged forward. Fighters danced. Like knives of light, frigates hammered weakened ships, and cruisers cut through the chaos with deadly precision. For the first time, the impossible happened. The slaves destroyed their masters. Hours later, silence fell over the battlefield. Dozens of alien wrecks drifted among the shattered asteroids. The survivors fled, tails between their legs. Dot in the hangar. Humans embraced one another, tears streaming down their faces. They had done it. They had defeated an armada. Arya stood before them, her voice steady. The galaxy thought we were broken. They thought we would never rise again. But today, we proved them wrong. The cheers shook the cavern. Hope blazed in every heart. But Elias's eyes were dark. He knew this was only the beginning. The Viren would not forget. The galaxy would not ignore this. And somewhere, the traitor Ryan was still missing. Dot in the shadows of the wreckage. A damaged Viron escape pod drifted silently. Inside, a trembling alien officer sent one final desperate message. To the Council. The humans are rising, and they will not stop. Asterisk, the wrath awakens. The galaxy trembled. News of the battle in the asteroid belt spread like wildfire. At first, alien leaders refused to believe it. How could human slaves, weak and broken, destroy an armada of the Viren? But the wreckage drifting among shattered asteroids told the truth. Black boxes, distress signals, and fleeing survivors all carried the same story. Humanity was no longer in chains. Humanity was fighting back. On the Viren homeworld, the High Council gathered in panic. Great halls filled with voices of fear. Some demanded revenge. Others whispered of negotiations. They were slaves. One alien shouted, slamming a clawed hand against the table. How could they defeat us? Another spoke with trembling anger. They are not the same as before. They have changed. They are dangerous. The council leader leaned forward, his eyes narrow. Then we must crush them before their fire spreads. But the fire had already spread. Across the galaxy, human slaves whispered in the shadows. In the mines, in the fields, in the barracks of alien armies, word traveled fast. The humans fought back. The humans destroyed an armada. The humans are free. For the first time in generations, human slaves lifted their heads with hope. They remembered who they were. They remembered Earth. Back in the hidden fleet, celebrations echoed through the base. Men and women cheered, raising their fists high. The impossible had been done. But Elias Kane stood apart from the noise, his eyes fixed on the stars. He knew this was only the beginning. Aria Holt joined him on the observation deck. She studied his face. "You don't look happy, Elias. We won." Elias shook his head. "We won a battle. But the war has only just begun. They will come for us with everything they have." Aria's gaze was firm. "Then let them come. Humanity has been beaten, enslaved, and broken. But now we are awake, and wrath is a weapon they will never understand." The fleet did not wait. They could not. Using captured enemy codes, the humans launched their first raids. Small groups of ships struck alien convoys, destroying supply lines and stealing resources. They freed slaves from labor camps, arming them and bringing them into the fleet. Every strike was swift, brutal, and merciless. The aliens had enslaved humans for centuries. Now, humans returned that pain with fire. Elias led many of these missions. Himself, he moved like a shadow among the stars, his fighter a spear of light. Every time he destroyed an alien ship, he remembered his father's death, his mother's chains, the endless years of slavery. And with each victory, the legend of Elias Kane grew. The galaxy began to call him something new. The wrath of Earth. To the aliens, it was a name of terror. To the humans, it was a name of hope. Across colonies and slave worlds, humans whispered his name in secret. Elias is coming. Humanity is coming. But whispers could not stay secret forever. In the hidden council of the galaxy, leaders of different species met in a massive chamber. The air was heavy with fear. "The humans must be stopped," one growled. "They are too few," another argued. "This rebellion will burn itself out." "Fools," a third roared. "Do you not see? They are united now, and they fight with fury no empire can match." The council debated for hours. Finally, they agreed. An alliance would be formed. For the first time in history, species that hated one another would join forces because they feared something greater. Not the Varen, not each other. They feared humanity. Meanwhile, Elias stood before the growing human fleet. Hundreds of new recruits filled the hangar, their eyes blazing with hope and anger. Freed. Slaves, smuggled escapees, survivors of hidden camps, they had all come to fight. Elias raised his voice. "They thought we were broken. They thought chains could kill our spirit. They thought we would never rise. But today, the galaxy knows the truth." He pointed toward the stars. "We are not slaves. We are not weak. We are humanity. And we will bring wrath to every world that chained us." The hangar shook with the roar of thousands of voices. "We are humanity." But as the cheers rose, the shadow of betrayal returned. In a dark corner of the galaxy, Ryan the traitor who had given the Varen their location stood, before a council of alien commanders. His eyes were cold, his face twisted. "They are strong," Ryan admitted, "stronger than you believe. But they are not unstoppable." The alien leader leaned forward. "Tell us, human, how do we break your kind?" Ryan smiled faintly. "You don't fight their ships. You don't fight their weapons. You break their hope. Take their leader. Take Elias Kane." The council chamber went silent. Then, slowly, the alien leader nodded. "Bring him to us, alive, somewhere far from the cheers of the fleet, hunters." were already preparing. The galaxy had seen humanity's wrath. Now, humanity's leader would become the target. Asterisk. The burning of empires, the galaxy had united in fear. Dozens of alien fleets gathered, preparing to crush humanity before the fire spread. But humanity did not wait. Humanity struck first. Elias Kane knew the risk. His fleet was still small compared to the great empires. But he also knew the truth. Alien empires were bloated, slow, and divided by arrogance. Humans were fast. Humans were furious. Humans were everywhere. Can fury burns faster than fear? The first target was the Viaran. They had built their empire on human chains. They had filled their mines and factories with human slaves. Elias remembered their cruelty, their endless whips and collars. Now it was their turn to feel the chains break. Human ships fell upon the Varan colonies like wolves. Fighters darted through defense lines. Frigates cut power stations apart, and cruisers shattered orbital shipyards. The skies above those worlds burned red. On the ground, human strike teams stormed prisons and slave camps. They tore down gates, shattered walls, and freed thousands. For the first time, the slaves saw their captors fleeing instead of commanding. Some freed humans fell to their knees, crying. Others picked up weapons and joined the fight, and the message spread again, louder than ever. Humanity is free. Humanity is rising. But Elias had no mercy left. When alien governors begged for peace, he ignored them. When enemy leaders offered bribes, he refused. When cities refused to surrender, the human fleet burned them to ash. Aria. Holt stood beside him, watching as flames consumed a Viran capital city. The skyline collapsed under fire from orbit, towers crumbling into dust. Her voice was quiet. Is this justice, Elias? Or vengeance? Elias's face was stone. They gave us chains. We give them fire. That is justice enough. The Varan Empire cracked within weeks. Whole sectors rebelled. Other alien species watched in shock. Some were terrified. Others began to wonder. If humans could destroy the Varan, could they destroy anyone? Fear spread like poison. And yet, so did hope. On slave worlds across the galaxy. Humans rose. Camps rioted, guards were overthrown, chains broken. Slave revolts erupted like sparks, leaping from a fire. The galaxy had enslaved humanity for centuries. Now, humanity burned the galaxy's order to the ground, but in the shadows, the Galactic Council moved their pieces. The traitor Ryan guided them. His voice whispered in their halls, "You cannot fight them as empires. They are too fast, too wild. You must fight them as one." The Council listened. They forged the largest military alliance the galaxy had ever seen. A coalition of hundreds of fleets, tens of thousands of ships, all sworn to one cause, the destruction of humanity. The humans knew the storm was coming. Scouts brought word of gathering fleets. Intercepted transmissions carried threats and promises of revenge. Yet Elias did not back down. He gathered his commanders in the war room, the holographic map of the galaxy glowing before them. "This is not the time to hide," he told them. "This is not the time to beg for peace. They must see us. They must fear us. We burn one empire, then another, until they understand." A young commander raised his hand. "But if they unite, Elias, we cannot stand. We are too few." Elias's eyes blazed. "Then we fight anyway. We do not need numbers. We have something they will never have." The room fell silent. Elias spoke a single word. Wrath. The next target was the Alari Dominion. The Alari had been one of the first to support humanity's enslavement. They had supplied whips, chains, and shock collars to the camps. Their rulers grew rich while humans bled. Now, their riches burned. Human fleets struck deep into Ilari space, bypassing defenses with stealth and speed. They targeted fuel depots, food storage, and weapon factories. Entire worlds went dark in. Days.ILAR, warlords sent fleets to stop them, but human traps shattered them. Ambushes, false signals, and sabotage turned the Alari's strength into dust. The humans fought like demons, striking and vanishing before the Alari could even regroup. The Dominion began to collapse. Elias watched from the bridge of his flagship, the stars glowing red with the fire of Alari cities below. He had seen chains broken, camps freed, enemies slaughtered, but still there was no peace inside him. Only the fire of vengeance. Arya approached him quietly. How many more must burn, Elias? How far does our wrath go? Elias's hands tightened. On the railing, his voice was low, as far as it must. That night, Elias could not sleep. He stood alone in his quarters, staring at the stars. The weight of command pressed on him, heavier than any chain he had ever worn. He whispered to himself, "They enslaved us. They broke us. They thought we were nothing. Now they will learn what it means to create monsters." Far away, in the heart of the Galactic Council, Ryan watched the flames of Alari space on the holomap. His lips curled into a thin smile. "Let him burn," he whispered. "The more wrath he shows, the more united they will become. Soon, his fire will bring the galaxy together against him." Behind him, a massive fleet, thousands of ships, waited in silence. The galaxy's final war was about to begin. Asterisk. Judgment Day, the galaxy had reached its breaking point. 2 empires had already fallen to humanity's fire. The Viren were shattered, the Alari Dominion burning. The galaxy's rulers could no longer deny the truth humans were no longer slaves. They were conquerors. Fear became rage. Rage became unity. For the first time in galactic history, species that had hated one another stood side by side. Old enemies shook hands. Rivals signed treaties. And together, they built the greatest armada the stars had ever seen. The Coalition fleet. It stretched across systems, thousands of warships, carriers, and dreadnoughts. Their banners carried one message: humanity must die. Elias Kane stood in the command chamber of his flagship, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers filled the stars, spreading like a tide. Arya Holt stood beside him. "The Coalition has moved," she said quietly. "They're coming." Elias's face was carved from stone. "How many?" Her answer was heavy. "Too many. More than we can count." The room went silent. The officers around the table shifted uneasily. They all knew the truth. Humanity had won battles, burned empires, and freed thousands. But now, they faced an ocean of enemies. One officer broke the silence. "We can't win this, Commander. Not against all of them." Elias looked at him, his voice sharp. "We are not fighting to win. We are fighting to make them remember. Every ship we destroy, every fleet we break, will burn into their memory. Humanity will never be chained again." The Coalition moved like a storm. From every corner of the galaxy, fleets converged on the humans' growing stronghold. The stars lit with war banners, weapons charged and ready. Human scouts returned with grim reports. Entire systems turned red on the map, consumed by the approaching armada. Panic spread through the human fleet. Some spoke of retreat. Others whispered of surrender. But Elias silenced them all. "There is no retreat," he said. "There is no surrender. We face judgment today, not only for ourselves, but for every chain, every whip, every prison they forced on us. This is not the end of humanity. This is the beginning of our legend." The fleet prepared. Fighters were armed, their sleek hulls gleaming with stolen alien metal. Cruisers were reinforced, their weapons overcharged. Every ship was loaded with every scrap of fuel and ammo they had left in the hangars, men and women. strapped into their suits. Some were young, fresh from slave camps. Others were scarred veterans, their eyes hard with vengeance. All of them whispered the same words. We are not slaves. We are humanity. The first clash came in the outer rim of human-controlled space. A vanguard of alien fleets appeared, hundreds of ships strong. The humans struck first, darting from asteroid fields, tearing through the vanguard before it could regroup. Explosions lit the void like firecrackers in the dark. But victory came at a cost. Human frigates were torn apart, fighters scattered, cruisers burning. Elias led from the front, his fighter carving through enemy lines. He fought like a man possessed, every shot carrying the fury of Earth. But even he could see it. The tide was too great. For every alien ship destroyed, 10 more appeared. After 3 days of battle, the humans fell back to their stronghold system. Wounded ships limped through space, engines smoking, hulls cracked. Survivors filled the decks with silence. There, eyes heavy with despair. In the command chamber, Elias and Arya stood over the map. Red markers now filled nearly every edge of human space. Arya's voice was low. They're not stopping. The full coalition fleet will be here within days. Elias closed his eyes. He remembered the mines of Varine, the chains, the hopeless faces of his people. He remembered the first time he saw the hidden fleet, the first time he believed freedom was possible. He opened his eyes, fire blazing. Then we end it here, he said. The humans prepared their final weapon. At the heart of the stronghold, hidden beneath layers of steel and rock, a massive ship waited, bigger than any cruiser, darker than the void itself. It had been built in secret, forged from the remains of alien tech and human genius. Its name was the Revenant, a ship not meant to flee, not meant to defend, but to destroy. Rumors whispered it could tear fleets apart with a single strike. Others said it carried a weapon so powerful it could break a star. Elias stood before it, the hull stretching like a shadow across the hangar. His reflection stared back at him in the black steel. This is our judgment, he whispered, not theirs. As the coalition fleet closed in, thousands of alien ships filling the stars, the humans stood ready. Fighters hummed in the hangars. Cruisers aligned their cannons. And at the center, the Revenant pulsed with power, waiting to be unleashed. Across the void, alien commanders gave their orders. Their voices filled with pride. Erase them. Erase humanity forever. The stars shook with the movement of thousands of ships. And in the silence before the storm, Elias Kane raised his voice across every human channel. They thought our chains would break us. They thought our spirit was dead. But today, humanity stands in fire. And today, the galaxy will learn. He paused, his eyes locked on the endless armada ahead. Wrath is eternal. The order was given. The final war began. The final verdict. The stars burned red with war. The coalition fleet filled the void, stretching farther than the human eye could see. Thousands of warships, banners of countless species, glowing in the dark. Their cannons pulsed with light, ready to erase humanity from existence. At the center of the human stronghold, the fleet stood ready. Dozens of cruisers, a handful of frigates, and swarms of fighters, outnumbered, outgunned, but not afraid. And at the heart of them all, a shadow waited. The Revenant, Elias Kane, stood on its bridge, surrounded by steel and fire. The ship vibrated with energy, its engines glowing like the heart of a dying star. Around him, officers and soldiers watched in silence, waiting for his command. Arya Holt stood at his side. They outnumber us 100 to 1, she said. Elias's voice was calm. Then they are enough. The battle began with thunder. Alien. Fleets surged forward, cannons blazing. Energy beams ripped through the void, tearing human frigates apart. Fighters swarmed, missiles streaking like falling stars. Human ships answered in fury. Fighters darted through enemy formations, cutting them open with precision strikes. Cruisers fired heavy rounds, breaking shields and splitting hulls. Every ship fought as if it carried the weight of Earth itself. Elias watched from the bridge, his eyes cold, bring the Revenant forward. The massive ship moved, its black hull cutting through the chaos like a ghost. The enemy opened fire, hundreds of cannons blazing. But the shots bent away, shields flaring with unnatural power. The Revenant kept moving, unstoppable. Inside the Coalition command ship, alien leaders panicked. What is that vessel? One shouted. It should not exist. Another hissed. It must be destroyed. They hurled fleets at the Revenant, desperate to stop it. But Elias gave the order. Unleash it. The ship's core flared. For a moment, silence fell across the battlefield. Then a wave of energy burst outward, brighter than any star. Alien warships shattered like glass. Carriers split apart. Fighters turned to dust. Entire formations were erased in seconds, swallowed by fire. The void burned white, and when the light faded, hundreds of enemy ships were gone. The humans on every channel screamed in triumph. The Revenant! The Revenant! Hope surged. The impossible had happened again, but Elias knew it was not over. The Coalition still had numbers. Thousands of ships pressed forward, desperate to overwhelm the humans. The Revenant struck again. Another wave tore through the Armada, breaking more fleets. Still they came. The battle raged for hours. The void was fire, wreckage, and silence. Human ships fell one by one, but each took 10 enemies with it. Arya gripped the railing beside Elias. We can't hold forever. Elias's voice was steady. We don't need forever. We need one final strike. Deep in the Revenant's core, a weapon waited. It was untested, unproven, a weapon stolen from ancient alien ruins and remade by human hands. Some whispered it could break entire stars. Others said it was a curse. Elias stood before the controls. His reflection stared back at him in the glass. He thought of the mines, the chains, the whip across his back. He thought of his people crying in the dark. He spoke quietly. This is for them, and he gave the order. The Revenant roared. Its core burned brighter than any sun. A lance of energy shot forward, cutting through the heart of the Coalition. Armada. It pierced ships, shattered dreadnoughts, and ripped open the command vessel itself. Alien leaders screamed as their flagship exploded in fire. The Coalition fleet broke apart, their unity shattered. Thousands of ships turned in retreat. Fleeing the wrath, they could no longer stop. The void went quiet. Humanity had won. The battlefield was a graveyard of wreckage and ash. Human ships drifted among the ruins, scarred but alive. Survivors cheered, voices echoing across the comms. Elias stood on the Revenant's bridge, staring at the burning horizon. His people were free. The chains were broken. The galaxy had faced judgment. Arya placed a hand on his shoulder. It's over. Elias shook his head slowly. No, this is only the beginning. They will remember our wrath. They will fear it. And fear always breeds hate. He turned toward the stars, his eyes dark. Today, humanity is free. Tomorrow, the galaxy will learn what it means to awaken monsters. Far away, in the shadows of a forgotten world, the traitor Ryan watched the battle's end on a flickering screen. He whispered to himself, You won today, Elias, but wrath cannot build a future. Wrath always destroys in the end. His smile was thin, his eyes cold. And when you fall, the galaxy will cheer. Elias Kane's name spread across every world, every station, every colony. To humans, he was the savior. To aliens, he was the executioner Dot, and in the silence that followed the greatest war the galaxy had ever seen, one truth burned brighter than any star. Humanity was free, and the galaxy would never chain them again. But freedom came with a shadow. Wrath had won the day. What it would cost tomorrow, no one yet knew. Asterisk.